Hi, this is David Coletta with Excel Physical Therapy. I'm one of the certified bike fitters with Excel Physical Therapy, and I'm here today talking about one aspect of bike fitting. With Jason here, we're going to be looking at how he is positioned on his bike with the percentage of weight on his hands versus percentage of weight on the saddle. Typically what we like to see with people is that they have somewhere around 50% weight on the saddle and then 50% weight on the hands. With hands, that's combined percentage. We definitely don't want to see that he has more percentage weight on his hands versus his saddle. Sometimes it's good to get a little bit more weight on the saddle versus the hands, so maybe 60%, 40%. But what happens is if you have more percentage on your hands, after a while your hands get tired, you get compression in through the wrists, some numbness in your hands. So we definitely want to be a little bit better kind of balanced over that saddle. We're going to look at two aspects of what can change the percentage of weight from the saddle to the handlebars. And both of those are going to have to do with the saddle. Not to say we can't change some things about the reach and the handlebars out here, but let's just talk now for what we can do with the saddle. So saddle angle is one of those aspects. So when we look at that saddle, the nose of the saddle versus the back of the saddle is going to tell you whether that nose is up, whether it's level or down, okay? Most people we want below the level, so we want the nose to be down a little bit, but we don't want it so far down that the patient's going to be sliding continually with their torso and their seat down the saddle and putting more weight on the handlebars. So one of the things we use is a level. You can use this digital level, which will be very precise in telling you the number of degrees nose down or nose up. You can use a regular bubble level. You can see here that the bubble's just moved a little bit forward of center to show you that it's a little bit nose down. And on this bike, we're about 0.3, 0.38 degrees nose down, so not even 1 degree. So let's take that individual who has 60% weight on the handlebars versus the seat, and we want to take some of that weight off of the hands and back onto the seat. And we go and we measure, and we look at the saddle, and we see that it's nose down 4 degrees on a regular road bike. In that situation, we're going to want to bring that nose up so we get this digital level or a bubble level. Or you can use an app on your smartphone that'll actually show you the degrees nose up or nose down. We're going to go ahead and use these two adjustments here to be able to either go nose up or nose down. It's a play between these two screws. There are other bikes that are a lot more difficult to change this on, where there's only one screw and you have to have these little teeth that you fit into and you have to move manually your bike seat up and down. But this one's a lot easier. Okay, so that's one aspect of what will change the percentage of seat to hands. One other little note here is when I say that typically you want to be 1 to 2 degrees nose down on most bikes, that's for a hardtail bike or a road bike. If you're on a mountain bike, in that situation, you get a little bit of sag with the suspension of a mountain bike or a suspension mountain bike or full suspension mountain bike. In that situation, you want your nose down to be a little greater, somewhere in the 3 to 5 degrees, because when you actually sit on it, you're going to be bringing your nose back to that 1 to 2 degrees nose down. Okay, so the other thing we can change about this saddle in terms of getting some of the weight off the hands and maybe getting more percentage back onto the saddle is where that saddle is in a fore aft position. Okay, so the more forward that saddle is, the more you slide it forward, probably the more weight you're going to have on your hands. The more you bring it back, the more weight you're going to have towards the back end and onto the saddle. So again, loosening up here, you have the rails of the saddle here. And what you might want to do is put a little mark right here with a marker or a permanent marker or something like that, just to know where you started. And then try just moving a little bit back. You see in this saddle situation, you have definitely room to move back. How far you can go fore and aft kind of depends on the length of these rails. Some saddles have longer rails, some have shorter rails. This one right here, we definitely have somewhere about 1.5 inches that we can move back if we wanted to.